Thanks. Cool demo. So just before wrapping up for the night, I was just gonna see if there was any questions. So I'm over in Singapore working with startups. Wago being one of our investments. So we're investing in startups around Asia. Kind of bridge myself between Asia and the Valley. Anybody have any questions about what's going on? I see one right there.
So, good experience in Singapore, bad experience in Singapore.
Good experience, bad experience. I'll start with bad. It's right on the equator. It's so hot and humid. Good experience. So right now, I mean, at least in the startup scene, it almost feels like it's the Wild West, which is kind of fun and exciting to me. A lot of new stuff is happening. E-commerce is just starting to hit. Payments is just starting to hit. But it's all very different than here. So one of our companies that we invested in, Coda Payments, they allow you to buy things, buy apps using your mobile minutes, prepaid minutes. Very few percent of the U.S. actually use prepaid. Most people are postpaid. But in a place like Indonesia, it's 99% prepaid. So it's kind of new business models, new ways of doing things. That's really kind of fun and exciting to me. Yeah.
I recently heard that U.S. lawyers are not allowed to practice in India, so they set shop in Singapore, which kind of acts as the headquarters for Indian law firms which want to be in Singapore. Do you have any experience with that?
I do not. The question being, U.S. lawyers cannot operate in India. Even U.S. lawyers operating in Singapore, that's actually pretty difficult for Singapore incorporated companies. You usually have to work with a local law firm.
So I can answer that. India has got its own system. Very simple.
Any other questions about Asia? Anybody with a startup here that's even looking expansion outside the U.S.? See if is that so cool of you? Is that a question?
Just curious.
Yeah.
So comparing Shanghai and Singapore, what are your thoughts?
Comparing Shanghai and Singapore.
Yeah, for startups.
So I think China is exploding. It's a massive beast. There's so much happening inside of China. Domestically, it's very, very strong. So if I compare it to Singapore, I would basically, I look at them as separately. Like a Singapore startup to go into Shanghai is difficult. But for Singapore startup going around Southeast Asia, there's opportunity. In terms of activity, ecosystem, investment, China is larger than Southeast Asia by quite a bit. So again, they're different. And Singapore is a country of less than 6 million people. It's a city, country, island. So it's really about Southeast Asia, but that's about 8 or 9 countries, all with different languages and cultures. So it's completely different doing business to expand around Southeast Asia versus expanding in China. So to me, that is a problem. That's a barrier to entry. But I look at every kind of problem as an opportunity if you can get over that barrier.
What are some of the major differences that you see in the investment community here in the Valley versus in Singapore?
The differences in the investment community here in the Valley versus Singapore. Risk. So one thing I've learned is basically risk profiles, that here in the Valley, people have a high propensity for risk. Most people in this room probably have moved from somewhere else in the world to come here to kind of jump and do some new startup, which is what I did 8 years ago when I started this meetup and I wanted to meet people. So I would say it's propensity for risk, that Silicon Valley has the highest propensity for risk, and as soon as you step out to the valley, that just drops down. And that's uniform around the world, whether it's Asia, South America, or even other parts of the US. And what that ends up happening is, if you have a startup that's taking risk, but you don't have an investor that's going to take that risk to make that investment, it kind of makes it hard to grow the ecosystem. Yeah.
So English is pretty strong in Singapore compared to, say, Taiwan or Japan. So the question is, how is your Chinese, and does that matter?
English being strong in Singapore, how is my Chinese? So I spent a few months traveling around China and had personal experiences of getting very pleasant or not so pleasant surprises off the menu. My Chinese then had to be beefed up pretty quickly to basically barter, negotiate, buy a taxi ride, pay for things, and that was about it. In Singapore, official language is English, and so you get by 100% with English. And it's easy for us as Americans traveling around that it is a very international language, and even throughout Southeast Asia, for any of the companies we're investing in, most founders do speak some English.
Someone looking to start in Singapore, are there any government regulations or restrictions that need to be followed?
The question was for somebody starting in Singapore, any government regulations or restrictions? Typically, before I first moved to Singapore, all I thought was regulations and restrictions and like don't chew gum and stuff like that. The reality is doing business there is phenomenally easy. You can literally set up a company online from any country in the world and be up and running in a day. If anything, actually what I would recommend about Singapore is the incentives. The government is heavily pouring money into the startup ecosystem. So if anybody does have thoughts about expanding to Asia, and Singapore is a possibility there, drop me an email, Vinny at SVNewTech.com, and I'll be happy to try to point you to the right people.
Speaking of Singaporean government throwing money at startups, it was like 50 million and 100 startups seed or something like that, and not a single one of them raised a Series A. And I've worked with the Hong Kong government a bit. How do you get the investors in these places to feel comfortable with risk, and more importantly, how do you get the mothers to feel comfortable on their children, encouraging them to be entrepreneurs?
So good question. A lot behind it. Like how to get, there's been a lot of investment, not a lot of Series A. How do you get investors to, be willing to make that risk? How do you even get mothers? Because that there is family pressure, especially in Singapore, where it's very easy to get a really great job, high pay. Why would you ever, not go that route and live in a room eating ramen and try to build a startup? So one, I think just the sexiness of tech that comes out of the Valley is convincing like a younger generation to at least try to take that effort and maybe make the argument up to their parents. Two, for investors taking the risk, I look at it as just timing. I feel very lucky that I'm there right now, and it's kind of just a wave that's getting bigger, that there's been, at least 50 to 100 investments, probably on the order of $500,000 each, that may have not gotten the next round of investment. It's been very, very difficult for the entrepreneurs pushing that forward, but that's changing very, very quickly. And there's a number of Valley VC funds that are coming to Singapore right now, including Sequoia, which has a partner set up there.
Yeah, I went out there for 20 years. I built 3 startups. I sold them all. Now I came back here.
There you go.
I think Singapore, the market is too small. I think China is a market by itself. Greater China is a secondary market. Southeast Asia is one market by itself. I think, but Southeast Asia is just way too small. So there are plenty of entrepreneurs. Ideas are endless, but the market is simply too small. And they have a very hard time trying to penetrate China.
Right. I would say the market's fragmented. It's over 500 million people in Southeast Asia, which isn't that small of a market, but maybe in terms of spending power, it makes it small. And it's a very fragmented market, which makes it very difficult for Southeast Asia.
But there are a lot of entrepreneurs. They're everywhere.
There are entrepreneurs everywhere, and so it's just a combination of who's getting other people around them, who's executing, who knows how to market, who's getting investment. Anywhere in the world, that's difficult. Yep.
From reputation, I hear when a Southeast Asian investor wants to make an investment, the diligence process takes significantly longer than it does in the U.S. Do you see that timeline shrinking, or are the customs of U.S. investing making its way over to that region?
Question being about time. U.S. investment is incredibly fast. Decisions are made very quickly. That generally is not true outside the U.S. So I would say that no, they might be moving a little bit more quickly, but not nearly the same speed as the U.S. And for an Asian investor investing here, I think it's still going to be pretty slow. Time for one last question, or I guess, just one, and then I'll be around and can talk and see you. so the question is about setting up a company in Hong Kong versus Singapore, and then the government support. So I don't know. I don't know the process in Hong Kong. We do have investments that are Hong Kong-based companies, but setting up in Singapore is literally an online application, a few $100s. Next day you have a company, and you can do that anywhere in the world as a foreigner. And then the government incentives. The government is investing something on the order of like 50 million over the next few years in the startup ecosystem, and they do that as grants, as equity, as debt, in a number of ways. They're very, very aggressive. I mean, that's one reason why I am there. Not so much that I haven't seen a dollar of that, but that it's really contributing to the local ecosystem, and it's making it stronger, and I could kind of see that on the ground. I ended up in Singapore after just taking some time off in the valley to travel around Asia, and Singapore just kind of stuck out to me as this hotbed. And so yeah, for any more questions, I mean, please say hi, especially with some new faces afterwards. I just want to say big thank you to Nisha and Joe for doing such a great job. To me, this is an amazing event. Honored that I could be here today, work out my travel schedule to get back, because it's just such a strong community. You know, where I'm halfway across the world, but I actually attribute a large part of that to this event here. It definitely taught me a lot. It plugged me into a great network, a great community here. And now that went from the entrepreneurial to the investing side, the whole process of looking at all the companies and picking companies each month, I realized, yeah, I ended up looking at over 1,000 companies over a few years, and so kind of trained me a little bit. So it's been an amazing experience.
Have you started a meetup over there?
Have I started? Have not started a meetup.
Why not?
Because there's a few. I've done a few other events like hackathons. Just been so crazy busy, and there's a lot of events there, so I attend and I drop in. Thank you.
Let's do a quick round of the shout-outs. So as I mentioned, you can come up here, 15 seconds. Yeah, just come on up. We'll give you the microphone. Say something that you're interested in networking about, people you want to meet, and ask that you keep them short. I'm going to start with my own shout-out. The week after next, I'm going on a vacation to Dubai, the Rajasthan region of India, and the Maldives. And I know this is a very international community. I would love to hear suggestions from folks who have been to those areas. So,
hi, I'm Charleston S. Bell. I'm actually Brian's roommate, and I've been in Silicon Valley for a few months. So I'm Chief Innovation Officer of a company that's basically building these crystals. And these crystals are called flash crystals, and they contain, this one right here, contains my full music album. And all you have to do is just swipe it against your phone to transmit your full music album or your business card. So I'm just looking to network with as many people as possible. I'm a cool guy. So thank you. I'm Charleston Bell.
Oh, Charleston, my husband will love that. I need to talk to you at the end. So my name is Lieza, and I'm from Certified Employment. We've been in business for 50 years. In 1963, we started in San Francisco. We got 5 offices from here to Sacramento. We specialize in the financial, accounting, and the administrative and IT engineering space. And contingency staffing, temp to hire, and even full-time. And for tonight only, I'm going to make this offer. We have a 50% reduction in any direct hire that your company might have. So where most agencies might charge 25 to 30% on a first annual for a full-time direct hire, I'm going to go substantially lower because you're my family, my meetup family, and then I'm going to take an additional 50% off on that. So if you're looking, my colleague Kim in the back, raise your hand, right there. Just come and talk to us, and we would love to come up alongside and partner with you. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Russell Hanabusa, founder of Adozi. Adozi makes a new type of anti-kidnapping device like this. It DNA samples kidnappers, gives their DNA to the police, and wirelessly tracks them. Okay. If you want to chat with me about this, and I'll show you a short demo of how it works, just see me after the speakers.
Wearable device.
Wearable device.
Wearable technology.
Hi, I'm Krishna, founder of RideStation.com. We are a mobile application for ride sharing, unlike Lyft and Uber, which are really taxis. So we're building something that will work for everybody to connect with their friends, colleagues and neighbors and ride share for free. We are currently closing a funding round and looking for a founding team. If you're interested in sales, marketing, engineering, design, contact me.
What's your email address?
Oh, I can be found at Hacker Dojo all the time. For those of you know, my name is Krishna. Krishna at RideStation.com. Thank you.
All right, do we have one more? All right, the last one.
Hi everybody, my name is Roman. I'm from a company called Crystalnix. We do software development for startups. I'm from Russia, so I'm here for 2 weeks. So if you have any ideas that we would like to develop with, and we can help you, so please come and talk to me. Thank you.
And just this last one.
Hi, I'm AJ, co-founder of DropThought, the first company that's presented. We are looking to hire 2 to 3 full-stack developers in LAMP, Python. So any developers out here looking for opportunities, please feel free to come and talk to me. Thanks.
I think that's it. All right, thank you everyone for coming to the December edition, the last 2013 edition of SVNewTech. We look forward to seeing you guys in the new year, and thank you for coming. We'll stick around until 9 o'clock. Feel free to finish the drinks and the pizza, and we'll see you guys in January. Thanks again.